Fitness businesses and churches. Is there a connection? Gym owner and pastor Trace Kennedy will answer that question today on Two Brain Radio. I'm Mike Warkington, your host for this edition of Two Brain Radio. Before we roll, please pound a like onto this video with my sincere appreciation, and don't forget to subscribe. Now, I've had some religious experiences in my gym, usually after a benchmark workout that left me in a higher state. Trace Kennedy has taken that a lot further. He's the owner of CrossFit Wotown and a pastor at Move Church, both in Sweet Home, Alabama, just north of Birmingham. Trace, I'm super curious how your life as an entrepreneur influences the church and vice versa. Are you ready to go?
I am beyond ready to go.
All right, let's hit it. I want to know which came first. We're talking gym or church, and when did both come into being?
Yeah, so the church came first. Our church, Move Church, is 7 years old. So me and my best friend, we planted it in our hometown 7 years ago. So we did that, go through the whole, find a location, meet people, build like your web of folks, and then hopefully from there grow and do all those types of things for 7 years. And in the middle of that, or actually in the beginning of that, I went through this whole fitness journey, transformation, lost 80 pounds, all this stuff, doing CrossFit.
Wow.
Yeah, it was wild. And then somewhere along the way, I met my wife, we got married, asked her to do CrossFit with me. She's kind of like, I got down on one knee with like a little Kalo ring and was like, "Hey, will you do CrossFit with me?" It was super cheesy. If I could go back, I wouldn't do it. But
it's a good story though.
Yeah. But then she got really, really good at the fitness and the exercising because she had like a background playing college softball. And so she started coaching at the gym that we were a part of. Did that for several years. And then she was a dental hygienist. And one day we were actually on vacation, and she said that she didn't want to be a dental hygienist anymore or for the rest of her life. And I was like, "Well, okay, what do you want to do?" And she said, "I honestly don't know." She's like, "I like coaching at our gym." And I was like, "It's like, do you want to like open our own gym?" And she was like, "I don't know, maybe so." I was like, "Okay, well, we'll pray about it. We'll, maybe in the next 5 years, we'll figure out how to do that. Talk to our gym owner, all that good stuff." And literally that was a conversation in July. And then October of that same year, we opened our gym. So it was just a few months. It was just like boom, 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 boom. And that was 2 years ago. So October 2 years ago, we opened up our CrossFit gym.
So when you started the church, did you have zero members? Like, was this just you're starting from zero and away you go? Or did you
so we had a net of people. We knew like people that we had been in relationship with for literally probably half of our lives. And they went and planted this church with us. I want to say it was probably around when we started, probably around 100 folks, and we successfully grew it to like 60, in our first year. And then from there, we have just continued to figure out our DNA and kind of grow from there. So yeah, the bumps and bruises of like figuring out your culture, what you stand for, getting the right people in the right seats, and honestly, pouring into people, it's a whole lot while managing finances and having your own kids and families and all that stuff. Yeah. Sounds like a gym life, right?
Right. And that's where I'm going with this, because there's some obvious similarities between coaching, a coaching gym and a church. Like, I think a lot of people will see that right away. You're trying to help people live their best lives in both, and you're building community, right? So what are some of the specific aspects of Move Church that are going to be very familiar to gym owners and Two Brain clients specifically?
Yeah. So a lot of them, because I make the joke all the time. People are like, "Wait, how did you do this with your gym?" I'm like, it's literally the same thing as planting a church. Basically, you have people that you care about, and they've got road blockers, and you're trying to remove those road blockers so that they can move forward in their spiritual journey. Same with fitness journey, right? So like literally our service. So our once a week gathering of people, I actually operates for two things, like a no sweat intro for non-believers or new folks to the area. And then it's also where your group class happens on a weekly basis as well as like the service. Beyond that, like we'd have an on-ramp program or a foundations program or whatever to get someone acclimated into your specific movements or low stuff. we have literally like the same thing. It's called move classes. What do we believe? What are our statements of faith? What are then like the path of a believer? What could you do inside the church? All this stuff. Boom. That's their next step, right? To get them acclimated. Then we got a private Facebook group, just like our gym has a private Facebook group where we're engaging with people on a weekly basis, creating new content, video content, blogs, all that stuff, sharing with them whatever could, help them with resources. We got one-on-one like coaching. That would be like discipleship, right? So figuring out where people are in their life, figuring out what some good next steps are, holding them accountable to those things, helping them where they're struggling, all that, just being present in their life with the one-on-one type stuff, goal reviews, check-ins. Literally, it's 100% the same. That's kind of like a client journey roadmap. Like we're mapping out the same stuff with people in their relationship in their life with God, because it's like literally like they're trying to better themselves spiritually in the same way people are trying to better themselves physically.
Okay, so this is fascinating, and I love the parallels that you've got there. Now, tell me this: did you have this stuff in place at the church initially, and then you kind of started doing the Two Brain thing and realized it synced up, or did you backfill some of the stuff from after learning more about the Two Brain and the business aspects of it?
It cleaned up a lot when we started doing the Two Brain stuff. What was funny is my best friend, he's the other pastor at our church. He actually coaches at our gym too. So, so we were sitting in a staff meeting for the church one day, and he's like, "Hey, all these systems and things we have in place at the gym, it's really easy for someone to figure out where they are in life or in their fitness life and know what that next clear thing was. Like, so what could our no sweat intro be?" And then like that's what he said. He's like, "What do we do?" Like foundation. So we started we literally listed out all the stuff that we use at the gym with Two Brains. Like, okay, so how could we use some of these same things for our church? So we had all this other stuff along the way, but we just saw so much success on some of these things as well. We're like, hey, maybe this is kind of more of some of the things that we're trying to do, because it really is customizable to everybody rather than just like a cookie cutter. Hey, here's the flow, here's the system. You got to do these steps 1, 2, and 3. But so we took more of the customizable approach with the one-on-ones and stuff like that.
In the religious community, how common is like an introductory process or a member journey? Is that a thing in the religious community, or is that, a newer thing that you're developing?
No, it's been around. A lot of churches have like a membership process. We don't really have like a membership process.
Yeah.
We're just like some core things in discipleship, honestly. Like, hey, here's like some pillars in faith that we should be moving towards as, go back to teachings in the Bible, try to figure out what those things are and kind of just move towards those spots. But as far as like helping people get acclimated into it, those things are probably newer in the last, I would say, church history. Maybe the last 40 years has been a slow development towards those things. Yeah.
And that's fascinating, because like the average person who doesn't work out can be very intimidated to join a gym, right? It's scary. There's all these tattooed people in the corner grunting and sweating. It looks horrifying and all this stuff. And Two Brain has realized that, like, yeah, you need to show people how to become a part of this group. And then on the other side of it, for non-religious people who decide to join a church and become religious, that could be intimidating too, because you're walking into this congregation of people who all believe the same thing. And they're obviously very welcoming because that's a tenet of faith, obviously, but it's still intimidating because you don't know anyone. You don't know, like, where do I sit? What do I do? All that other stuff. So that integration process I'm guessing that makes it's so much easier for new members of your church to find their home and feel better.
Yeah. So that was like the other thing too, is like the biggest intimidating factor walking into a church is really two things. One, everyone's a goody two shoes and they have it all together and perfect, and no one else, like if someone who just walks in off the street, like, oh, I'm nothing like them. Or two is like, oh, these people are like major hypocrites and I don't want to get sucked into being a hypocrite either, right? And so trying to break down those barriers and just like, hey, look, nobody is perfect. Please don't think that I'm perfect. Please don't think that anyone is. We're all trying to figure out life together is really the biggest thing. So so the same way we're like posting pictures at the gym of not the dude with his shirt off doing all this stuff, right? It's the mom who is trying to figure out, what's for dinner while she's swinging a kettlebell or something like that. That's kind of the same thing with the church that we're trying to portray as well.
Yeah. And in your client journey at the church, have you identified like common dropping off points where people might struggle to keep going and things like that? Just like in fitness, we realize, okay, 90 days getting tough for some clients. We know those points are coming. Do you see that in the I'll call it the member journey at the church, I suppose?
Yeah. Major life events,
Yeah.
whether it be loss of family member or job change, new season of life as a parent, someone who's walked through divorce. You kind of see what those key indicators are. I'm like, okay, if these are the things, like we need to be aware of these things. And so we've started like building out like 1-day events, kind of like the Tinker calls or anything that would happen in Two Brain where you're like on these special calls talking about specific things. We're doing those now, whether it be for finances or marriage or, literally the whole gamut on that end, and figuring out, okay, what are the things that we need to be building beyond just a sermon, but we can incorporate into these people's everyday lives, and how do we create those tools to give it to them?
So do you do that as a reactive thing where like, okay, I know Chris had a divorce, we need to kind of reach out and see if we can help? Or is it something where you're more proactive and you're looking at like, we teach you finance and we teach you coping skills for life events? Or how do you operate like that?
Both.
Yeah.
Current experience. So you got to have your thumb or like your finger on the pulse of one, what's going on in your congregation, or like what's going on in the members of your gym. That's a big part of it. We'll talk about later. It's like, if you know what's going on, then like you need to create things for the people who are already there. It would be kind of pointless to come up with all these lists of things for people like, yeah, those are great ideas, but that's nowhere near where I'm at in my life right now. So I'm like, okay, where are you in your life? So the reactive, but also with the proactives, like, hey, I think the proactive is important because it gives someone an idea of where they can be in the future. So creating both.
Okay. And what about general self-improvement, like finance and fitness and things like that? Do those things carry over from your gym into your teaching as a pastor with your congregation?
Yeah, for sure. So we talk about holistic discipleship. So your whole life being transformed into the image of Jesus. So I think he has a say beyond just what's in here and then what's in here, but how you act and respond like in the world. So I want to be a good steward of my money. I want to be a good steward of my body. We know the longer, like the better, like the healthier we are, the longer we're probably going to live, which means the more impact we'll have in our families' lives, in our friends' lives, in our communities' lives. So it's important to do those things. So it absolutely translates over to those things. How you treat people at your job, you're growing in education, so you can just contribute to society as a whole. All those things are important.
So do you teach your congregation finance, fitness stuff as well? Or is that kind of just like, maybe a recommendation saying like, hey, your life could be improved by, getting your financial house in order or maybe working out? Does that ever kind of cross over?
Yeah. So we do we call them financial workshops.
Yeah.
So I'm huge into financial education and learning that stuff because we don't learn it in our schools, not the right way. So trying to teach young people, trying to teach people one, like, hey, how do you budget your money? But beyond that, what's passive income? What's cash flow? All these, what are investment strategies? Like, obviously we can't say, hey, you need to do this, invest here. We're not investment, professionals, but teaching them, about real estate, teaching them about, cash flow and passive income. Those are not words that I knew at 18 years old, or I didn't learn about those till like I was 30. So trying to shrink that gap to help people say, hey, look, if you're, financially, if you're healthy, you don't have to be a slave to your job and work 80 hours a week and do all the extra overtime and all that stuff and miss out on just life in general. And then the fitness side, it's like there's a tightrope there because I don't want to use my influence in the church to persuade people to join our gym. So I'm like, hey, yeah, you should definitely take care of your health. You need to be a steward of your body. So whatever works best for you, works best for you.
It's interesting. And I'm editing an article right now. It's our yoga mentor, Shannon Brassovin, and she's talking about Money is often, a bad term in the yoga community because a lot of people do it for the love of yoga and so forth, and they're almost embarrassed about making a profit. Her position, though, is that if you make a profit and you get your finances in order, you can have a bigger impact on the world by doing good with that money. Chris Cooper obviously subscribes to that too with his help first philosophy. It sounds a lot like you. You're going to be less stressed, less angry, less, you're going to be able to focus on your family and do more as a person, whether it's through tithing and giving and all the other important things, if you have your finances in order, than if you're just stressed working 80-hour weeks, like you said. So I love the holistic approach to it. And the same goes, I won't get into the details of all the gym owners already know. The same goes if you're healthy. If you're not, it's hard to take care of someone else or your brother or sister if you can't, get the log out of your own eye, I think is the biblical reference, if I'm not mistaken.
I used Coop's story all the time about, or the question about who eats the sandwich on the airplane all the time with folks. But then even like as a believer, it's like the most valuable resource you have is your time, like one-on-one time with somebody. If all of my time is spent at my job, then I'm not using my resources properly. So I'm trying to help people say, hey, look, you can do stuff with your finances to free up your time so that you can make a much bigger impact.
Listeners, if you don't know the Eat the Sandwich story, the short version is if there is a pilot on a plane full of people and there's one sandwich, who gets it? The answer is the pilot, because if he or she crashes the plane, everyone goes down. So you got to get that person whole before you can serve the rest. The same thing principle is putting your own oxygen mask on before someone else's. So that's the analogy there. Let's flip it the other way now. So talk to me about your experience as a pastor. How does that influence your business and your life as an entrepreneur? Because that's going to be a really interesting one. You had this church going and you decided to open a gym, and now you've got the Church of Fitness going on the other side.
The Church of Fitness. That's great. There's some of my friends are going to listen to this and they're going to start using that term.
Oh, I'm sorry. I went and threw you under that.
No, that's a good one. I've not heard that one at all. So it really is simple. Like it starts with belief and faith. Like I do believe, because the question was, how does what I've learned as a pastor translate over to me being an entrepreneur? I do believe that that God works in the world through believers, right? That and the church, and that's not just like in the literal building, in the lives of the church. The church is people. It's not a building, and so through that, the term is build the kingdom of God. So building the kingdom of God really is like in all these other areas of life. So individuals, marriages, families, towns, businesses, like leaders in businesses, all those spots, that's where God's doing stuff. So like my life, my worldview, my like scope is I want to do those things and be parts of all those spots. So what I've been learning this stuff. So I've been a pastor for 12 years. So now it's translating over into all these other areas because I see it. I'm in my small town. Our town is super small. I want to say like 3,000 people total. And that's like if you add up 2 other small towns with us, right? So really kind of a small town. But I just see like how as you care for people, you can really see things begin to shift and change in a community. So I've learned all this stuff, how to care for people on the spiritual side, like be in their life when they're going through the worst stuff they've ever been through. That's the first person they're going to call is like in our context, the first person they're going to call is their pastor because they're like, hey, you obviously know something I don't know, like help me through this. You can see from like, up in the air what's going on, which is so crazy to think about, but it's always the call. And it's tough to walk. It's tough to be with somebody after they've received news that they have cancer or that someone they love has just died. And you're like the first phone call or first interaction somebody has with somebody. So that prepared me a lot just for like people are going to go through stuff in the gym. Like it would be a great spot if no one dealt with anything in their year and they just came and worked out, went home, had a nice meal, woke up, did it again tomorrow. But that's not the case. It's a stressful day at work, or my kid's going through something, or I've got 5 million things on my calendar, whatever, the gamut on that side. I know all gym owners do, but like, okay, so what do you do with that information? Like as a gym owner, it'd be like, well, suck it up, like do the stuff. Like, but that's not it. That's the part that I took into it from the very beginning is just caring about people. And knowing that it's so much more than this 1 hour that they're spending in the gym with us. I want to get them to spend that 1 hour in the gym with me, but what do I have to do? What barriers do I have to remove so that they can spend that 1 hour in the gym with me, or that they're like, you know what, it is worth it for me to be here. So that was like the biggest lesson on gym ownership side that I've learned. But as far as just like the town and community, I feel like we are responsible as business owners and entrepreneurs to make our communities better, not just bring new businesses or every block or every chain restaurant, whatever possible, so you can make the most money, or bring as much business to or development to the community as possible. I love my small town. I want my small town to stay a small town, but I would love for there to be valuable things within our community that last beyond my lifetime, for sure. But that's not like I want to see the biggest movie theater possible in our town, right? I think it would be way more valuable to just have some business leaders who actually care about their community, but and know finance or whatever, all the help first model. I think those things really do matter.
I think you've really hit on an important point of coaching where, maybe 10 years ago, or maybe less, a lot of gym owners and coaches really thought, being the best technical coach was super important. More certifications, more tech cues, more knowledge about, sarcomeres and all the Krebs cycle and all the things no one really cares about except in a textbook. But what we're realizing more, and this is with Two Brain coaching and Two Brain business, is the best coaches are really the ones who get clients to work out and do the workout that's going to help them with their goals. And so that gets into a whole different side of things where it's not about squat cues anymore. It's more about life coaching, and it's very interesting. Do you find that life coaching, then they kind of bleed over, like holistically? If you're talking about, I look at your church and you're talking about dealing with people as a whole, and you're talking about finance and body and soul and so forth. In the gym, you're kind of doing the exact same thing. And that must make you guys great coaches in your gym.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever heard the quote before. People don't, care about how much you know until they know how much you care.
Is that Roosevelt?
Sure. I don't know. I've heard it so much in my life. Michael Scott said it. Who knows?
Okay.
I don't know. But that it really is true. If you care, or if you know all the points of a squat, but you don't know that my daughter's been in the hospital for like a week, and that's why I've not been at the gym, then how does that translate over, at all? Literally, that was a conversation I had with one of our members today. I just got on Facebook, saw that they were at the hospital. Turns out they've been in the hospital for a whole week. Just shoot them a message on Facebook Messenger. Hey, I just saw this. How are y'all? Is there anything I can do? Like that stuff really does translate over, because they're like, oh, well, they really do care. So then the next time they're in, okay, tell me about all these points of the squat again. Why do they matter? But if you don't have that, that buy-in from them, then it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, and you're not doing it, as a retention tool, but it does turn into a retention tool because I think it was Greg Glassman, I think, that said it's easy to quit a gym. It's hard to quit a relationship, or some variation of that. Yep. And what our goal is as coaches and people and even as a pastor, we're working for self-improvement in any avenue. You need people to keep doing the stuff that is going to work. Building that relationship, we found in gyms, is absolutely critical to getting people to do it, because the best workout program in the world is useless if they don't show up to do it. So your actions in building community and relationships definitely become a retention tool. Does that actually show in your numbers do you have retention numbers at your church?
Yeah, I do. But there's a fine line there too, though, of the caring. Do I care because I'm trying to get this person to stay here for as long as possible? Or do I really care about this person and their stuff? There really is a fine line there. Mm-hmm. So you have to figure out I think you have to do soul searching on that end, because at the end of the day, people are going to leave our gym. People leave our gym all the time. Right. And at first, that was the hardest lesson I was learning at first. People weren't leaving. I thought people were leaving me, but actually I just have other things going on. So as a gym owner, business owner, whatever, you can take that stuff super personal. And that was a hard lesson to, I 100% did. I would sit in the corner and oh my gosh, I thought me and this person were tight.
They don't like me.
We were. Yeah, exactly. And that's not the case. And so it's you know what? For every one person that leaves, there's probably 10 people who will stay and find these things worth value. And that's totally fine. So whoever it's supposed to be, it'll be those people. And whoever it's not supposed to be, it's not going to be that person. And it's not no sweat off her back, but that was a hard lesson to learn. So, but yeah, the question was leg length of engagement for church.
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah. I mean, that's an
So
interesting one I've never thought of, but it's key.
Yeah. I didn't think about it till a year ago. I was like, I wonder what the length of engagement of people at our church is. And so I just started plugging in, because we do like our move owners class or our membership class. And so we know when people went through those. And so I just got his Excel sheet out, started actually I used the Two Brain one and just plugged people in with those start dates. Yeah, it's really wild. But yeah, our membership or our leg is like 45 right now.
45 at the church?
Yeah, 45 at the church.
And that's months?
Yeah, 45 months.
Is the gym higher or lower?
Well, our gym's only 2 years old.
Okay.
So it's hard. Our leg at the gym's like almost 11, like 10-9.
Yeah, and I've known from interviewing other gym owners, the longer you're in business, the higher your leg will go, because at least if you're a good gym owner and you survive, you have a 10-year client that's going to bump it up.
It's only grown. It never decreased.
They're going up though. That's the key though. Right. Okay. So that's interesting. Now we've often talked in our work at the CrossFit Journal, we published an article on this, but gyms and churches are often called third places. It's that place you go when you aren't at home or you're at work. It's that other place, Cheers, where everyone knows your name, that kind of thing. What advice can you give gym owners who are looking to create tightly knit supportive communities? You're obviously a master at this because you're doing it at the church and at the gym. How can other people do that in their gyms?
Yep. So you have to know what's going on in your members' lives outside the gym. You have to know. I know Coop talks about it a good bit. Like, just set a goal, talk to somebody about, hey, you got a kid, do they play sports? And then following up with them the next week. Hey, how did Johnny's game go or whatever? But that's just like one small instance, but you have to know. And I think it's important to know that, and then to hire people that also have that same framework. Yes, it's great to have coaches who are experts in all this other stuff, but if they can't translate over to how you're leading someone to a healthy life, not just a healthy 1 hour, but a healthy life, then they're going to miss it on that end. In my experience, you have to know what's going on. I needed to know that 2 of our members, their daughter was in the hospital. I needed to know that, so then I can reach out and do that. It would explain why they're at risk and haven't been to the gym in a week. So, I mean, now you're not freaking out on all this other stuff, but you need to know when people are going through stuff seasonally. They're like, members who maybe have lost a family member around this time of year, and that's why they're not motivated to come to the gym. It has nothing to do with what cool program or offering you have at the time, but like, there's other things that correlate outside of this 1 hour. Yes, this 1 hour or this time in the gym is going to help them reap huge benefits in their everyday life. But what happens outside of the gym is the number one contributing factor to if they're going to come be a part of your gym or not. So you have to know, and then you cannot be cynical towards people when they leave or you get hurt. We're talking about that earlier, because what can happen is you can get super cynical. You're like, you know what? I put myself out there. People left. I'm not doing that anymore. They're all going to leave at some point in time. And you know what? They might leave at some point in time, but maybe you weren't supposed to be their coach for the rest of their life. Maybe it was only supposed to be for 12 months, 6 months, 6 years, whatever. And just kind of have to settle in your identity and worth stuff as a coach, knowing like, I know what I'm doing is making a difference in our community and in people's lives. And whoever's here that's going to happen. So you can't question that stuff and not get cynical that, oh, this person's only going to be here for like 2 months and then they're out.
When I hear you talking about that, I'm going to guess that you've had to have the same conversation with yourself as a pastor when someone leaves the church. Am I right?
Oh, 100%, man.
Yeah. Because that's so spiritual, right? You've got this deep spiritual connection. Yeah.
Yeah. You'll pour your life into someone. I just honestly I'm walking through this right now, where I have poured myself into someone for years and years and years and years, but now they've decided to leave the church, and you're like, okay, how do I not take this personal? And you just have to, again, identity and self-worth, it's not in that person. It was in the task that I was responsible for doing for that time.
I really like that one, that you might not be the coach or the gym or the pastor for life, but you served a purpose for a specific period. I really like that one because that could certainly help some people. I know I've beaten the crap out of myself a few times when people have left, and maybe there were some failings on my part, but on the other side of it, there were other aspects where it's like, I couldn't control this person moving to another city to take a new job that's going to better their lives. I couldn't stop
for
that.
sure. Yep. Yeah, I mean, if
That's
the same person was leaving all the time for the same thing, like, okay, I need to look at my systems or look at how I'm delivering something. Maybe it is me, but a lot of the times it is just certain circumstances that are outside of your control. You can't do anything about it.
Listeners, I'm going to give you a couple of assignments here based on what Trace has told you. I want you to contact 5 members today and just ask them, and do it right now. It's not going to take very long. Just text them or direct message them or even call them, whatever you have the most direct line of communication. Just check in with them. How are you doing today? Okay. And if you know something specific about that person, like someone that might be struggling, check in with them on a specific thing. Okay. That's your first assignment. Second assignment is I want you to pull out the last group photo that you took at a holiday workout or at your gym when there's like 10, 20, 40 people, whatever. Go through that group photo, go to every person, and can you name what that person does for a living? Can you name a family member of that person? And if you can't, make a list, and I want you to find out over the next months or weeks, even better, as soon as possible, find out something about these people. And that means you're going to have to start a conversation. You're going to have to chat with them. You're going to have to find out, because you can't just go up and say, okay, what do you do for a living? What's your wife's name? Okay, bye. Right. That's going to seem weird. You got to have a conversation and get to know your members. Some of you are going to go through this exercise and you're going to find that you know everything about those 2 things about every member. And that means you are already having great connections. Find out something else that you don't know about those people. Those are the tasks that I'll give you guys listeners to do today after this show. Trace, I want to thank you for this. This has been fascinating because I haven't had a chance to talk to someone who runs a gym and a church at the same time. The parallels are incredible. I want to see in a couple of years what your length of engagement does at both. I want to see if the gym can catch the church.
That would be that's the long-term goal. On my side, I'm trying to have more members at our gym than we do at the church personally.
Fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us today.
Hey, thank you so much, Mike.
That was pastor and gym owner Trace Kennedy on Two Brain Radio. I'm your host, Mike Workington, and I'm all about telling stories of amazing gym owners. Subscribe for more episodes, and don't forget to hammer a like on this content. Now, here's Two Brain founder Chris Cooper with a final word. All right, sir. That was fantastic. Thank you so much for that.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was super fun.
The Church of Fitness. I like it.
I used to often use that one. We had open gym often Sunday morning, so I'd always welcome the people that showed up and say, well, thank you for coming to the Church of Fitness. And I would preach to the madly converted, as I called it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
awesome.
It's funny, but it is neat how it's fascinating for me to see, because Chris and I have talked about this actually, about the evolution of religion in churches now, where it's like old school, like say 40, 50, 60 years ago, you kind of joined a church for life and that was your thing. Things are a little bit different now, where churches are evolving and they're, there's competing for, not competing, but it's like, it's not the thing that everyone just used to do. You guys have to work to make some connections. So it's just a fascinating thing now.
The church is in decline for sure. It has been. I think this last year it went down 12% of.
Is that what it was? Yeah.
In America, professing believers or whatever. It's still the highest religion in America, but it has went down 12%. And a lot of it has to do, there's just so many other things now. Before it's like, everybody did this thing. And now it's like, and then COVID just spiked that number even more, because now people are like, I don't have to do this. I don't feel guilty for not going anymore. So it's interesting, but I love the parallels between the two things. It's fascinating. And it's nice. I don't believe I've had a chance to, I've talked to you online, I think, but I've not ever seen you in person or whatever. So it's nice to put a face to a name in digital form anyways. Yeah, for sure. I really have enjoyed this today.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you get back to building both aspects of your life there, and we'll talk to you online soon enough. And happy holidays to you and your flock.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Talk to you later.
All right. Talk to you soon. Thank you.